Chosen one, pause for a moment, not because you're being warned and not because you're being rushed, but because something inside you already knows this moment matters. You didn't arrive here accidentally. Your attention didn't linger by coincidence. Something subtle but undeniable pulled you into stillness. And that pull came from within you, not from outside. Right now, before logic tries to interfere, notice what your body is doing. The slight tightening in your chest. The way your breathing shifted without you deciding to change it. The warmth that feels almost emotional, but not quite. That sensation is recognition. Your soul recognizing itself in truth. This message was never meant for everyone. It was meant for the version of you who has been quietly changing while the world around you stayed the same. You have felt it for a while now. That sense of being out of sync, not disconnected from life, but disconnected from a version of life you used to live. The things that once excited you no longer reach you in the same way. Conversations feel repetitive. Environments that once felt familiar now feel strangely limiting. You may still function, still smile, still show up, but internally something has shifted, and you can't unfeel it. This isn't confusion. This isn't depression. This isn't you becoming distant or difficult. This is awakening. Awakening doesn't arrive like lightning. It arrives like pressure. A slow, steady pressure that builds until your old identity can no longer contain who you are becoming. You didn't suddenly change. You evolved quietly. And now your inner frequency no longer matches the outer structures of your life. That mismatch creates discomfort. But discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of transition. There have been signs. Clear ones. Repeating ones. Numbers that follow you through ordinary moments, appearing at just the right time. Not because numbers themselves are magical, but because your awareness has sharpened enough to notice patterns where once you saw randomness. Moments where you sense things before they happen. Where you feel truth before words confirm it. Where your intuition speaks faster than your mind can explain. Your sensitivity has increased, and with it, your discernment. You feel people's intentions without needing proof. You walk into rooms and immediately sense the emotional atmosphere. This is not anxiety. This is perception expanding beyond surface awareness. Alongside this has come a quiet withdrawal. Not loneliness, but selectivity. You don't pull away because you dislike people. You pull away because your energy no longer wants to be spent where it cannot grow. This feels painful at times, because not everyone who was once close to you is meant to come with you. But this separation is not rejection. It is protection. Your dreams may have changed too, more vivid, more symbolic, sometimes unsettling, sometimes illuminating. You wake up remembering details that linger throughout the day. That is your subconscious receiving information while your conscious mind rests. Your inner world has become more active because your outer world is preparing to shift. And beneath all of this is an urgency you can't quite name. A feeling that you are meant to be doing something important, even if you don't yet know what it is. This pressure doesn't come from fear. It comes from purpose. Purpose knocking again and again until you finally listen. Here's the truth most people never hear. Being chosen was never about being elevated above others. It was about being entrusted with more responsibility. Before you arrived here, your soul agreed to walk a path that would require strength, resilience, and depth. You agreed to experience contrast so you could carry wisdom. You agreed to endure difficulty so you could become someone who could hold light without being blinded by it. Look back at your life honestly, not just the highlight moments, but the ones you rarely speak about. You survived experiences that reshaped you at the core, loss that emptied you, betrayals that shattered your trust, periods where nothing made sense and no one had answers, times when quitting would have been understandable, even logical, yet something inside you refused to let go. That wasn't stubbornness. That was design. Every challenge trained you. Every disappointment redirected you. Every closed door forced you inward, where real strength is built. You were never meant for a shallow existence. You were built to transform, not to blend in. And transformation always begins by dismantling what no longer fits. This is why your life has felt harder than most. Not because you were unlucky, but because easy paths do not create the depth required for your mission. Comfort doesn't forge clarity. Pressure does. And now, you are standing in between versions of yourself. The old identity is weakening, but the new one has not fully emerged. This in-between space can feel disorienting, even isolating, but it is sacred. It is the space where truth consolidates and false layers fall away. There are stages to this process, whether you were taught them or not. First comes a collapse. The moment when what once defined you can no longer hold you. Relationships shift. Roles dissolve. Beliefs you built your identity around begin to crack. This stage feels like loss, but it is actually release. Then comes the wilderness, a period of uncertainty where you don't yet recognize who you are becoming, but you know you cannot go back to who you were. This is where solitude becomes necessary, not to punish you, but to strengthen your inner connection. This is where you learn to listen inward instead of seeking validation outward. And eventually, emergence follows. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. When alignment replaces resistance. When clarity replaces confusion. When opportunities begin appearing not because you chased them, but because you became ready to receive them. You are no longer at the beginning of this journey. You are approaching the shift. What you feel now, that subtle anticipation, that quiet certainty beneath the uncertainty, is alignment catching up with destiny. Breakthrough does not announce itself loudly. It arrives when preparation is complete. But here is what matters most. Awakening is not passive. Awareness alone is not enough. Participation is required. You are not meant to wait for life to change around you. You are meant to move with it, consciously, intentionally, grounded in trust. Your body has already begun guiding you. Expansion feels light. Resistance feels heavy. Your intuition speaks through sensation before thought. When you learn to trust that signal, you stop forcing paths that were never meant to open. This is only the beginning of what is unfolding. The separation you are experiencing now is making space. The discomfort is loosening attachments. The pressure is shaping you into someone who can carry what is coming next. And what is coming next requires you to be fully present, fully grounded, and fully aligned with who you are becoming. There is something fundamentally different about the way you endure. You may not have recognized it while you were in the middle of your struggles, but looking back, the pattern is clear. When others would have collapsed, you adapted. When others would have hardened, you softened without losing strength. When circumstances tried to strip you of hope, something deeper than optimism kept you moving forward. That something was not learned. It was embedded. Chosen ones are not defined by how little they suffer, but by how deeply they transform through suffering. Pain did not disqualify you. It refined you. Every time life pressed you beyond your limits, it expanded your capacity instead of breaking you. You became someone who could carry weight without becoming bitter, who could face darkness without losing direction. This is why quitting has never worked for you. You may have tried. You may have reached moments where giving up felt like the only reasonable option. And yet, every time you came close, something intervened. A message arrived at the exact right moment. A realization surfaced just when you were ready to walk away. A delay turned out to be protection. A closed door revealed a better route. It wasn't coincidence. It was correction. Your soul made an agreement long before this lifetime began. You agreed to complete what you started, and because of that agreement, quitting is not neutral for you. It creates discomfort, resistance, and inner unrest until you realign with your path. Continuing, even when it is difficult, always feels more honest than stopping. This is divine persistence. Not force, but inner certainty. Right now, many of the separations you are experiencing are happening because your frequency has changed. When your energy rises, anything incompatible naturally falls away. This includes people who benefited from the old version of you, environments that thrived on your self-doubt, and roles that kept you small. Separation is not punishment. It is alignment. You are being moved out of places where you were over-giving, over-compromising, and under-receiving. The discomfort you feel when certain relationships or situations begin to unravel is not loss. It is grief for an identity that is no longer sustainable. You are no longer meant to carry others at the expense of yourself. This is why your tolerance for disrespect has decreased, why your patience for confusion has shortened, why you feel drained by things you once endured without complaint. Your nervous system is recalibrating. It no longer accepts what diminishes you. And as this happens, the old identity makes one final attempt to hold on. This is the moment where doubt resurfaces, where familiar fears try to convince you that you are imagining things, that you are overthinking, that it would be easier to return to what you know. This is not regression. This is resistance surfacing before release. Every transformation reaches this point. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly without dissolution. The struggle inside the cocoon is not cruelty. It is necessity. If the transformation were interrupted, the butterfly would never develop the strength required to fly. In the same way, your current discomfort is building the internal structure you need for what comes next. You are not being tested to see if you are worthy. You are being prepared to see if you are ready. And readiness does not come from knowledge alone. It comes from embodiment. This is where many people hesitate. They understand the concept of growth, but they resist the behaviors required to sustain it. They want change without responsibility, awakening without accountability. But chosen ones do not awaken halfway. When you awaken, everything must adjust. This includes your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They determine what is access to your energy and what does not. Every time you ignore your own limits to accommodate someone else's comfort, you leak power. Every time you honor your truth, even when it is uncomfortable, you reclaim it. You were not meant to be endlessly available. You were meant to be intentional. As your awareness deepens, your body becomes your compass. Expansion feels open, warm, forward moving. Misalignment feels heavy, constricting, exhausting. Learning to trust these sensations is essential. Your intuition communicates through your nervous system long before your mind catches up. Aligned action is not about doing more. It is about doing what resonates. You may feel called to make changes that don't make sense to others yet. A shift in direction. A pause where people expect motion. A step forward where others advise caution. This does not mean you are reckless. It means you are listening to a deeper intelligence. Faith without action remains potential. Action without alignment creates burnout. The balance between the two is where momentum lives. Gratitude, too, takes on a different meaning at this stage. It is no longer about listing what is good. It is about recognizing growth, even while discomfort remains. Gratitude does not deny struggle. It reframes it. It allows you to see preparation instead of punishment. And then there is forgiveness, not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Unforgiveness binds you to the past. It keeps emotional contracts active long after the lesson has been learned. Forgiveness dissolves those contracts. It releases energy back into your system, energy that can now be used to build instead of protect. This includes forgiving yourself for not knowing sooner, for staying too long, for trusting when you shouldn't have, for doubting when you could have believed. Self-forgiveness is not excusing mistakes. It is acknowledging growth. Right now, forces beyond your awareness are working on your behalf. Circumstances are rearranging. Delays are being used to align timing. People are being positioned to cross your path at exactly the right moment. You do not need to see all of it yet. You only need to remain open. This is a season of separation before union, clearing before receiving, release before expansion. What is coming requires you to be lighter, not heavier, clearer, not cluttered, present, not anchored to what was. And you are almost there at this stage of your journey. Release becomes more important than effort. You have already done the work of surviving, enduring, and learning. Now the work is subtler, but no less powerful. It is the work of letting go without needing closure, of trusting without controlling outcomes, of allowing life to meet you where you stand instead of forcing it to move faster. Many chosen ones struggle here because release feels like surrender. But surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. It is the moment you stop gripping what is already leaving and open your hands to what is arriving. This is why forgiveness has surfaced so strongly for you lately. Not because you're being asked to forget what happened, but because holding on to resentment anchors you to timelines you've already outgrown. The mind may revisit old stories, but your spirit is ready to move on. When you release resentment, you reclaim energy. That energy doesn't disappear. It returns to you as clarity, creativity, and emotional spaciousness. You may notice that once you truly forgive, you stop thinking about the situation altogether. The emotional charge dissolves. The lesson remains, but the weight is gone. This is how you know healing has occurred. Forgiveness also applies to the versions of yourself that existed before awareness. The one who tolerated less than they deserved. The one who stayed quiet to keep peace. The one who didn't yet know how to choose themselves. Those versions were not weak. They were learning. You could not have become who you are now without them. As this release completes, something subtle but profound begins to happen. Your internal world becomes quieter, not empty, clear. The constant mental noise softens. Decision-making becomes easier. You stop second-guessing your instincts because they have proven trustworthy. This clarity is the beginning of emergence. Emergence does not arrive with fireworks. It arrives with steadiness, with a sense of grounded confidence that does not need external validation. You feel less reactive, less pulled into other people's chaos, more present in your own body. You may notice that opportunities begin to appear without effort. Conversations lead somewhere unexpectedly. Resources show up at the moment you need them. Timing feels unusually precise. This is not luck. This is coherence. When your inner world aligns, the outer world responds. This is also when abundance starts to shift, not just financially, but energetically. You stop chasing. You stop forcing. You start attracting. What once felt difficult now feels fluid. Progress replaces struggle, but this stage requires vigilance. The old identity may attempt to reassert itself, especially when unfamiliar ease appears. There can be a temptation to self-sabotage, to question whether you deserve things coming more easily, to recreate struggle because it feels familiar. This is where awareness matters most. You do not need to suffer to prove your worth. Ease is not laziness. Receiving is not selfish. You have already paid your dues. Allowing things to be good is a skill. As you move deeper into this phase, your role shifts. You are no longer being prepared. You are being positioned. The lessons that once felt overwhelming now feel integrated. You can speak about your experiences without reopening wounds. You can guide others without draining yourself. This is leadership through embodiment. Your presence alone carries weight now. People feel calmer around you. Conversations deepen quickly. You may notice others opening up to you without invitation. This is not because you have all the answers, but because you have cultivated space. This is what chosen ones bring into the world. Coherence. With this comes responsibility, but not burden. Responsibility to maintain alignment, to honor boundaries, to continue listening inward even when external validation appears. This is why daily practices matter. Not as rigid routines, but as anchors, moments of stillness, gratitude that is felt, not recited, conscious choices that reflect who you are becoming, not who you were. Your words, too, carry creative power now. The way you speak about yourself shapes your reality faster than before. Self-deprecating language lands heavier. Empowering declarations ripple wider. Choose your words with care. They are instructions. As this integration continues, you may feel a growing sense of anticipation. Not anxiety, but readiness. A knowing that something significant is close. This does not require rushing. What is aligned arrives on time. Your task is to remain open, clear, and present. The season ahead is one of harvest, not instant perfection, but visible progress, not constant ease, but sustainable growth. You will still face challenges, but they will no longer define you. They will inform you. You are stepping into a chapter where your life begins to feel like your own. And this is only the beginning. As you settle into this new internal alignment, the way abundance moves toward you begins to change. It no longer arrives only through struggle or exhaustion. It starts showing up through clarity, timing, and intuitive action. You may notice that when you stop forcing outcomes, the right doors open with surprising ease. This is not accidental. It reflects a deeper truth that has always been present. Abundance responds to alignment, not desperation. When your inner world stabilizes, Life mirrors its ability back to you. This is why patience now feels different than it once did. It is no longer passive waiting. It is active trust. You sense that things are unfolding even when you cannot yet see the full picture. This trust creates space for things to arrive fully formed rather than prematurely. The Bible reminds us in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 that there is a season for everything and a time for every purpose. You are no longer in the season of endurance. You are in the season of movement, guided, intentional movement. Divine timing is not about delay. It is about coordination. Every person you meet, every opportunity that surfaces, every pause that still occurs is part of precise orchestration. When something does not move forward, it is not rejection. It is protection. You are being rerouted toward what matches who you have become. This is why certain doors close without explanation in the past. They were not failures. They were mismatches. Had they remained open, they would have required you to shrink or compromise your integrity. Now, what aligns will recognize you immediately. This shift also affects your relationship with money, success, and material stability. You may feel called to redefine what wealth means to you. Not just accumulation, but freedom. Not just status, but sustainability. Not just income, but impact. As your values clarify, your financial flow begins to reflect them. Opportunities that honor your energy replace those that drain it. You learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. This is the stage where stewardship matters. Not hoarding, not overextending, but wise movement. Resources come with responsibility. Energy multiplies when respected. You may feel drawn to simplify, decluttering spaces, reducing commitments, refining priorities. This is not regression. It is refinement. You are removing excess to make room for expansion that matters. As this happens, your intuition sharpens. Decisions become less analytical and more embodied. You trust the quiet inner yes or no without needing endless justification. This is the language of alignment. At times, the old urge to rush may resurface, especially when excitement builds. But you will notice that when you pause and listen, the right pace reveals itself. Momentum does not require urgency. There is a calm confidence now, a sense of being supported even when navigating uncertainty. This is faith matured by experience. It is written in Proverbs 16 verse 9 that a person may plan their course, but the Lord directs their steps. You are still allowed to desire, to envision, to plan, but you are no longer attached to controlling how it unfolds. This surrender is what allows miracles to arrive naturally rather than dramatically. As you continue stabilizing in this new timeline, you may notice a shift in how you view your past. Painful memories lose their charge. You see patterns instead of wounds. You recognize how every redirection guided you here. Gratitude deepens, not because everything was easy, but because everything was useful. This perspective is powerful. It frees you from resentment and anchors you in wisdom. You stop asking why things happen and start asking how they shaped you. This is the mindset of someone ready to build, not just survive. Your creativity may increase during this phase. Ideas flow, vision sharpens. You feel inspired to create, contribute, or lead in ways that feel authentic rather than performative. Follow these impulses. They are expressions of your alignment-seeking form. And remember, growth does not always feel dramatic. Often it feels quiet, steady, and almost ordinary. But ordinary consistency builds extraordinary outcomes. You are no longer chasing a breakthrough. You are living inside one. The key now is maintenance, staying connected, listening daily, honoring rest as much as action. You have crossed into a chapter where effort becomes effective rather than exhausting. And the more you trust this process, the more life meets you with precision. As this alignment stabilizes, you may notice something subtle but profound. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. The urgency to explain your journey, justify your choices, or convince others of your truth begins to dissolve. This is not indifference. It is self-trust. When you know who you are, validation becomes unnecessary. This is one of the clearest signs that embodiment has begun. You are no longer gathering insight. You are living it. Your presence carries weight because it is congruent. Your words land differently because they are rooted in experience, not aspiration. People may begin responding to you in new ways. Some will seek your perspective. Others may feel unsettled around you without understanding why. This is not something you need to manage. It is simply resonance at work. Light does not announce itself. It reveals itself by contrast. You may feel called to lead, but not in the way you once imagined. Leadership now feels quiet, relational, and grounded. It is less about visibility and more about stability. Less about influence and more about integrity. This is the kind of leadership that creates lasting impact. You lead by how you listen, by how you pause, by how you choose compassion without self-abandonment, by how you set boundaries without hostility. The Bible speaks to this in Matthew 5, verse 16, reminding us that when our light shines, it naturally guides others, not through force, but through example. As you embody this role, your relationships recalibrate again. Some people rise to meet you, others drift further away. This is not loss. It is alignment continuing its work. You are no longer responsible for carrying others beyond where they're willing to go. This frees enormous energy. With this freedom comes responsibility, not to others, but to yourself, to maintain the practices that keep you grounded, to check in with your body before committing, to honor rest without guilt. Sustainability becomes a priority. You may notice that your nervous system feels calmer even when life is busy. Stressors no longer hijack your entire state. You respond rather than react. You recover faster. This regulation is a sign of integration. Your mind, body, and spirit are no longer competing. They are cooperating. From this place, creation becomes clearer. You are able to build without burning out, to serve without depleting, to grow without losing yourself. This is how purpose matures. There may still be challenges. Alignment does not remove difficulty. It changes how you meet it. You trust yourself to navigate obstacles without collapsing or overcompensating. Confidence now comes from competence built through lived experience. You also begin to notice synchronicities increasing again, but they feel different than before, less startling, more confirming, like gentle nod from life rather than loud signs. You recognize them and keep moving. This is important. Chasing signs can stall embodiment. Receiving them with gratitude while staying present keeps you grounded. You are not meant to hover at the edge of awakening. You are meant to live inside it. As this chapter deepens, you may feel drawn to teach, guide, or support others, formally or informally. This is not obligation. It is overflow. Only give from abundance never from depletion. Your story carries medicine, but it is most powerful when shared from a place of wholeness rather than healing. This is why timing matters. It is written in Galatians 6 verse 9 that we should not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest. That time is not rushed. It arrives when capacity and opportunity meet. You are reaching that intersection now. From here, the work is simple but not shallow. Stay present. Stay honest. Stay aligned. You do not need to reinvent yourself again. You need to live as who you already are. This chapter is not about becoming extraordinary. It is about becoming consistent. Consistency creates trust. Trust creates momentum. Momentum creates impact. And impact does not always look dramatic. Often it looks like steadiness in a chaotic world. This is a legacy you are building. Quietly, faithfully, intentionally, you are no longer asking who you are meant to be. You are becoming it through daily choice. As the season completes its work within you, something settles. Not excitement, not urgency, a quiet knowing, the kind that does not need reassurance. You begin to understand that nothing essential is missing anymore. This does not mean life becomes perfect. It means you are no longer at war with yourself while living it. There is a deep peace that comes when identity and action align. When your inner world and outer choices speak the same language. When you stop abandoning yourself to survive. This is where you are now. You trust yourself in a way you never did before. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know you can handle whatever answers arrive. You have learned how to listen inwardly, how to pause, how to respond instead of react. This is maturity of the spirit. You may notice that your prayers feel different, less desperate, more conversational, less about asking to be saved, more about asking to be guided. That shift matters. It is written in Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 that when we trust with our whole heart and acknowledge divine guidance, our paths are made straight. Not easy, straight. Clear. Directed. You are walking that path now. And here is something important to understand. Clarity does not always announce itself loudly. Often it feels like simplicity. Like knowing what no longer deserves your energy. Like choosing rest without guilt. Like saying no without explanation. These are not small changes. They are signs of authority returning to you. You are no longer outsourcing your worth. With this comes discernment. You see situations as they are, not as you hope they might be. You recognize red flags earlier. You also recognize genuine alignment more quickly. Your intuition is no longer something you doubt after the fact. It is something you trust in real time. This protects your future. As the days move forward, you may feel less inclined to consume constant motivation or validation. Not because growth has stopped, but because integration has begun. Growth happens quietly now, like roots deepening beneath the soil. You do not need to announce this phase. You live it. People may ask what changed. You might struggle to explain it in words. That is okay. Some transformations are felt, not articulated. Your life will answer for you. There will be moments when the old identity tries to resurface, not with power, but with familiarity. Old thought patterns, old fears, old reflexes. When this happens, do not fight them aggressively. Simply notice them without attachment. You are not required to return to what you have outgrown. Awareness is enough. Over time, these old patterns lose their grip because you stop feeding them. They dissolve from disuse. This is how freedom actually works, not through force, but through choice repeated consistently. As this freedom stabilizes, gratitude becomes natural, not forced, not performative, real. You begin to appreciate ordinary moments again. Stillness, breath, silence, presence. These become sacred. This is where fulfillment lives, not in constant achievement, but in congruence. You are no longer chasing a future version of yourself. You are cooperating with the one you are becoming. This cooperation creates momentum without burnout, and from this place, life responds. Doors open without struggle. Conversations flow with ease. Opportunities align naturally with your capacity. Instead of overwhelming it, you're not being tested now. You are being trusted. That trust has been earned. It came from showing up when it was hard, from staying honest when it was uncomfortable, from choosing growth when retreat would have been easier. Nothing was wasted. As it is written in Isaiah 43, verses 18 to 19, we are reminded not to dwell on former things, because something new is being made, not someday, but now. You are living that verse. This is not the end of your journey. It is the end of confusion about who you are on it. From here, direction replaces doubt, and purpose stops feeling like pressure. It feels like alignment. You move forward knowing that you do not walk alone. Not because you need saving, but because guidance is always present when humility and trust coexist. You no longer need to search for signs constantly. You recognize them naturally when they appear. You no longer fear stillness. You understand it as integration. You no longer fear uncertainty. You trust your ability to navigate it. This is wholeness. Take a moment now, not to declare anything, not to promise anything, but simply to acknowledge yourself. You stayed. You listened. You grew. That matters. Carry this awareness gently. Live it quietly. Let it shape your choices without turning it into an identity to defend. You are not here to convince the world of who you are. You are here to live it. And as you do, life will continue to meet you with exactly what you need. Not all at once, but faithfully, step by step. This is your grounded beginning, and you are ready.